Hey, welcome to New York Comic Con, and welcome to the IDW 20 Years and Beyond panel. Did anybody here happen to be at the IDW panel at San Diego Comic Con? Okay, if you could pretend this is a different panel for everybody else. No, I'm just kidding. This is actually a totally different panel. I'm just joking. I'm John Barber. I'm the editor-in-chief at IDW. For some of you, I'm what is it, kind of grayish-beige pillar, because I'm behind this pillar right here. But, hi. Yeah, welcome. Thanks for coming. We've got I think a lot of exciting guests. So why don't everybody introduce themselves, and we'll go through, talk about some projects, talk about some new stuff, some stuff that's continuing, and hopefully have a little bit of time for some questions at the end. Why don't we just go straight down instead of alphabetical order? Oh, yeah. Hey. You want mine?
Hey, I'm Alan Robert, the creator of Beauty of Horror coloring books.
Hi, I'm Hannah Templer. I'm the creator of Cosmo Nights, and I'm also the artist on Glow.
Hello, I'm Gabriel Rodriguez. I'm co-creator of Locke and Key, creator of Sword of Ages, and a few other stuff that I've done with IDW these many years.
Hi, I'm Delilah S. Dawson. I am a writer with Wellington, and I also write Star Pig, as well as some Star Wars Adventures and the X-Files Case Files.
Hi, I'm Aaron Mahnke, and I created a podcast, book series, and TV show called Lore, but I'm here with Delilah for Wellington.
I'm Drew Zucker. I'm the co-creator and artist on Canto.
And I'm David Brewer. I am also a co-creator and the writer on Canto.
Hey, IDW group editor Bobby Curnow here. I guess I should mention I wrote a comic named Ghost Tree too this year, so there you go.
All right. So, well, you guys mentioned this. Why don't we jump right into Wellington, which I think is a super exciting book we've got coming out in December. But Aaron and Delilah, you can probably tell us a little bit more about it.
Okay, so obviously on Lore, what I do with that podcast is I talk about historical tales and beliefs and folklore and superstitions. And one of the items I bumped into a few years ago was this thing in London in the 1850s called Spring Heel Jack. Has anybody heard of this? I love the descriptions of Spring Heel Jack. He was dressed in like what we would today call like a onesie, like a white onesie. He spat fire, he had blue eyes, and he'd jump over buildings, and that's why they called him Spring Heel Jack. And he would like leap in, poke a bunch of people or scare them, and then he would jump out again. And London went nuts with this. People were very afraid. And one of the people who tried to help calm the public fear was the Duke of Wellington. He was still the commander-in-chief of the British military forces, but he sort of came out of retirement, and you can picture him putting his guns on and climbing on the horse and going off looking for Spring Heel Jack. And when I read that happened, I thought to myself, that'd be kind of cool if that wasn't the only time he did that. So that's what Wellington is. Wellington is taking the Duke of Wellington and sort of crafting a historical fiction / horror series around this guy who knows, maybe had a secret life hunting supernatural creatures. So sometimes I soft pitch this as the TV show Supernatural meets Sherlock Holmes in Victorian England, and we love the feel of it. So yeah, anything you want to add?
I mean, if you ever get to be in a car with Aaron Mahnke and he's like, let me pitch you a comic, just say yes. Because that's how I got involved. And it's so much fun writing this with you because I've never written kind of historical before, to the point where I realized that in order to write this comic, I had to find out where he lived and go online and like find the outline of his house, Apsley House. You can still go tour it today and like describe this to the artist. So I'm really having a lot of fun exploring that, but then also merging the supernatural with Aaron's more nonfiction world. So like if you're looking in these things, there's a wall of trophy heads, but then some of them are like monsters that you wouldn't notice unless you looked really closely. Like one of the dogs has 3 eyes, or like in this the page left in the middle, you can see that this family portrait is like a demonic dog. So it's really fun merging Aaron's historical reality with my nightmare visions.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I think you've all gotten a copy of the Wellington Ash Candidate edition with a few pages of preview. Nobody turn it over. There's going to be a big surprise at the end of the panel if you don't flip over this comic that you've just been handed. But Delilah, you're also, like you mentioned, a few other books you're working on. One of which is Star Pig with Francesco Gaston and Sarah Richard.
And we also
on
have
covers.
colors by Sebastian Chang, who's doing great colors in here.
Sebastian's great. And that's currently on sale, and the book edition of it is coming out pretty soon as well, I believe.
I hope so, yeah. Issues 1 through 3 are available upstairs at the IDW booth, and I'm happy to sign them. I've got a full signing schedule online. You can find me anytime. I'll sign them as long as I'm not waiting in line for the bathroom. But yeah, the whole idea of this is a girl in some later time goes to space camp. It's literally in space, so she's going to, Camp Verdowsi for space camp. And her ship blows up, and suddenly she, is about to have like the Princess Leia cold death in space, and then she wakes up in a fluffy pink room and finds out she's been eaten by a giant floating space tardigrade. Thank you, because we've learned tardigrades can survive anything. So it's like, okay, but what if they were house-sized and talked like your dog? So she meets this guy named Theo, who's a little lab-created floating space tardigrade who just wants to find his way home, and they become best friends and have, like, as you can see, the 90s influences of this Trapper Keeper cover. The most recent cover, there's one with Beanie Babies. This one looks like Lisa Frank. But it's all a love song to 90s aughts culture and also to the things that American culture loves about space and fun. Like, I brought Laika back. I've always been sad that Laika died in space. So in this world, they rescued Laika and they've cloned her like 1,000,000 times. So you can have your own personal Laika cloned to your needs. So like, Laika lives. Yeah, if you're into all that, every episode's named after a Weezer song. So like, if you like this cover, you'll like it, and I hope you do. Oh, and Sarah Richard is the cover artist who does this cover and these fun covers. She's actually in the Artist Alley, so if you like it and you're a collector, like, I'll sign it, she'll sign it, you'll have collected all your Beanie Babies.
Speaking of Beanie Babies, no, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. There was I don't know. I was trying to come up with it. It was pretty good for no preparation, right?
Merchandising.
If anybody's here from Beanie Babies Incorporated, we have a merchandising opportunity. Now, one of our biggest hits of the past year has been Canto, a wonderful creator-owned book by David and Drew and Vittorio and Duran. But maybe you guys can talk a little bit about Canto and jump in.
All right, Canto. Hopefully some of you have been able to pick up the first few issues. We had issue 5 come out just this week. We've got 1 issue left, so what's going to happen? So Canto, if you're not familiar, it's kind of, it's a fable, and it's about this little race of tin people who are enslaved, and they work to feed these furnaces, and they don't know why they're there, they don't know their history, they're not allowed to have names, they're not allowed to have stories or relationships. When they're taken, their hearts are removed and replaced with clocks, and so when their time is up or their clocks get damaged, into the furnaces they go. Well, Canto has a name, and he's in love with a little tin girl. And when her clock gets damaged beyond repair, he finds out that he has to go out into his great big dangerous world he knows nothing about and find where they take their hearts to bring hers back to save her. And so it's partly inspired by Wizard of Oz, partly inspired by Dante's Inferno, which is an interesting mix. And we like to say it's part fantasy, part adventure, and all heart. So that's about it.
Yeah, I think if you're if you're into like the Dark Crystal show just came out on Netflix.
Dark
to me, this is
Crystal.
Always, we just predated that show, but like it was always that was a big thing for me.
Never Ending Story. We had
Yeah.
a Return to Oz, the movie, if you remember it from the 80s. Somebody mentioned that. Drew has some inspirations too.
For us, when we were doing this, the big thing that we looked at in terms of tone was actually Ghostbusters and the 90s Ninja Turtles, where, though, at least for me, those movies, when I saw those movies when I was like 7-ish, and my interpretation of those movies changed as I got older. So the way I interpret that movie at 7 is very different from how I interpreted them at 13 and at 17 and now at 32. I have different understandings of them, and that's sort of what we set out to do with this, was create a true all ages book, a book that a 10-year-old could enjoy even if they didn't fully grasp what it was, but that their parents could also enjoy, and that 10-year-old could come back to it when they're 20 and still enjoy it with a greater understanding of what's occurring.
Awesome. And I think we have maybe some exciting news for fans of Canto.
I'll say first that there is a exclusive cover for issue 1 for sale at the IDW booth. We'll be signing right after this at 3 o'clock, so you can come on board if you haven't started the series yet. And you probably should come on board to start the series because we're going to have a second arc starting next year. Do you want to share all the news with them?
Sure, go for it. If you'd, however much you'd like to, yeah.
So we are doing a one-shot that's going to come out in May, and I'll also reveal the title. It's called Canto and the Clockwork Fairies, and it's a offshoot story that takes place sort of between the first arc and the second arc, but it's a standalone story, and we've already started doing some concept art for it, and it's really going to be a fun adventure for Kanto that sort of expands his world and can bring you on without having to know a lot about what happened in the first arc, although we'd love for you to read it. And then the second arc is there's a big question mark at the end of the first arc, so we're going to explore what that the answers to that question in the second arc, coming out starting I think in July of 2020.
I'm very excited. So yeah, get to make sure you get to drawing. Even
There's
before.
been no break.
What?
There's been no break.
Even before Canto 2, we have another I think pretty exciting creator-owned book coming out that I'm excited to announce here. Bermuda by John Layman and Nick Bradshaw. This is a all new series, obviously. This is the first image. It's kind of, oh man, if it's a little washed out from where you are, it's pretty amazing in person. Bermuda is the young woman in the center of the cover. That is her name, and as it turns out, across the world there are areas like the Bermuda Triangle that transport you into another world. She was transported there as a child. And it's a world of mismatched time, dinosaurs mixed with pirates, mixed with World War II aircraft, all sorts of stuff. And travelers sometimes get trapped in there and try to escape, try to get out of there. She has no desire to escape. That is where she lives. That is her home. So coming in April, we'll get to learn a lot more about Bermuda. One of the funny things about these panels, and I mean, I'll be totally honest with you about this, is IDW does a lot of different stuff, and a lot of really wide range of things. We have these amazing creator-owned books we do some amazing books with partners, from some of pop culture's greatest characters, and all sorts of other things. So these panels are always, I'm never sure what everybody's here for. So hopefully everybody gets a little something out of this, because I think there's a lot of different things I have to offer, and a lot of things that if you like one, maybe try something else. But one of the books right now that is blowing up is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we're lucky enough to have Turtles editor and co-plotter Bobby Curnow here, and I don't know if you've been following Turtles. We've had some pretty exciting developments, and we're running right up to issue 100.
Should I be following Ninja Turtles? Is that something that's advised? As the editor?
Don't start now.
Okay.
It's
All right.
working.
Okay.
Let's not mess with anything.
I've just been faking it up until now. So, no, obviously we're hugely excited. If anyone has been reading our series for a long time, you might remember issue 50 was a giant status quo shift, which really set the stage for the past couple years. It's going to be the same thing with issue 100, but I'd say times 2 or 3. All of our major storylines are coming to a head. Agent Bishop and the Earth Protection Force are closer than ever to capturing the Turtles. We just recently revealed that that Baxter Stockman has become mayor. Old Hob, who is a mutant cat, has mutated a good portion of the city. So there's a lot going on, and it all comes to a head in issue 100. Both number 99 and 100 are double sized, just because we couldn't fit in the amount of story we had with the regular sized issues.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times that's a lie that gets told, but that is literally the case. Was you and Tom and Kevin, were like, we've got too many pages worth of stuff to fit in here.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's. I know this has been a labor of love for both Kevin and Tom and all of the fantastic artists that we've had on it. Special shout out to Dave Wachter and Michael Dialanis, who's also here at Comic-Con. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we've also got a brand new, it's a character named Jenica who has been in the series, but she's recently been mutated, and we just want to thank all the fans who have responded so strongly to that character. We thought it was going to make a big splash, but it's exceeded our expectations. So if you're new to Turtles, I recommend jumping in maybe a couple issues back, issue 93. Jump in on the story arc where Cry is fighting Splinter for the control of the Foot Clan. There's just a lot going on, and once we're done with issue 100, then we're going to have a brand new world in Turtles with issue 101. Sophie Campbell is going to be taking on the primary writing and art duties. If you've been reading Turtles, you know that Sophie's been with us since year one. She's a phenomenal talent and is really ushering in a brand new age for Turtles. Tom and Kevin are still going to be very involved with the book. We're still going to get issues written by Tom. They're just taking a little break because there's a lot going on in 100, and he could use just a little tiny break. But so we're going to have everything you know and love about the Turtles, but this is an important new chapter in the Turtles, and it's going to be a great jumping on point if you haven't read any Turtles before. And I also want to point out that we've got a deluxe edition coming out of issue 100. What's great about this, if you've been reading the floppy issues, instead of the letters column, we've been doing an oral history of IDW. And it kind of details from all the creators, their involvement in the process, what made the series work. But what many people don't know is those are only segments of those oral histories. This is going to be the complete thing with more extra tidbits, more behind the scenes news, and more knowledge about how the series has come to exist and our current storyline. And you also get to see some behind the scenes art. It's just really going to be the perfect package for anyone who's a big fan of the IDW Turtles.
Hey, well, we've got you here, Bobby. Another series you're editing that's just launching, and I think I'm super excited about myself, is the all-new G.I. Joe.
Yeah, I'm an 80s kid, so I grew up with the Turtles, and another huge part of my life was G.I. Joe. This series is really special. It's easy to imagine, okay, hey, here's G.I. Joe, you know it, it's going to be what you know and love, but this series is really doing something substantially different. Cobra has taken over a large part of the world. There's a war going on in the United States as the series begins. So Cobra is absolutely ascendant. G.I. Joe is the underdogs to such an extent that they need to recruit everyday people to help be spies and saboteurs against G.I. Joe. This was inspired by a real-life program that Winston Churchill had in England during World War II. Where they would train people, everyday people, to be spies and go behind enemy lines and help derail the Nazi war effort. So this is, these are characters, everyday people like you and me, who are thinking, I have to do something. This world is wrong, I need to do something to make it right. And there's a lot of drama, fantastic drama, and trial and tribulations that come with that. I think wherever you are in your opinions about this world, I think you can find something to be unhappy about, and you can we all ask yourself, what can I do about it? And that's what this series is really doing, is what can you do as a human being? You don't need to grab a gun, but it's really, what can you do to challenge yourself to be the best person you can be and fight for what you believe in? The creative team of Paul Aller and Chris Evanwies is fantastic. They're doing something that hasn't been seen in Joe before. Just really, we've got all the great action that you love in G.I. Joe, but bringing a new level of humanity to it, that is what really appeals to me about it.
Awesome. And speaking of bringing humanity to Hasbro characters, one of the series. See, that's a great transition, right? Anybody that knows me knows I've got a pretty long association with Transformers, and I could not be more excited about the book that Brian Ruckley is doing with an amazing team of artists, including in some upcoming issues Angel Hernandez, Alex Milne, Joanna LaFuente, Josh Perez, Winston Chan here who did the cover. So I don't know if everybody's been following this new series. We're back before any war ever broke out on Cybertron. We're seeing for the first time, kind of seeing live as it happens, as it were, the personalities and the machinations that are going on to cause this sort of peaceful planet to descend into chaos. The story opened with the first murder of a transformer or a Cybertronian in living memory, and sort of how that sparks into the personal fight with characters like Bumblebee and Rubble, who is one of our main characters for the first few issues, and then up through Optimus Prime and Megatron. Having a sort of grander scale political fight, and I've just been really amazed with what Brian's brought to the table. I mean, I've been, again, as somebody that's been associated with this for a while, I've been super proud of the stuff we've done for the past few years, and I'm just really excited to see this kind of come in and take this new era of Transformers. I'm also excited to see some of our old friends return on the art. So, obviously I'm a fan of some of these people, and I'm also excited to see new people. And if you've been following Transformers, you might know that we've got a second Transformers series called Transformers Galaxies. We've already let you know that the next story following the Constructicon story is going to be by Kate Leth, Cohen Edenfield, and Alex Milne, with a cover here by Anna Malkova. It's a spotlight on Cliffjumper. And all the Transformers Galaxy stories take place in the same universe, but they're usually stories that are going to become key parts of the tapestry of where the Transformers world is going. I was super excited to have Kate Leth on here. And I actually I should have known this. I didn't realize she actually wrote on Transformers Cyberverse. So she was already an expert in Transformers, and that's fantastic. But one thing we haven't told you is what's coming next. Coming up next in issue 7 will be Sam Mag's Umi Meow. I'm sorry, I tripped myself up there, I apologize. Story arc in March, focusing on some of our new characters. And following that up will be a Ultra Magnus story by Brandon Easton and my old compatriot Andrew Griffith. Which Brandon is working on the I think everybody knows this. He's working on the Transformers animated series. So this is going to have some, I don't know, it's really exciting to have him back on. He's done some Transformers stuff in the past, and he's a great friend. It's really exciting to have him back on here. Speaking of TV shows and upcoming things, now you like the transitions? Star Trek Picard Countdown. So this is tremendously exciting. I'm a huge Trek fan. My most exciting things at San Diego Comic-Con were getting to go to the Picard Museum that they had set up and seeing that Picard trailer. Because I kind of knew some of the stuff that was going to be in there, and the hardest thing in the world was for me to not say, and 7 of 9's in it! And, I know what happens when they open that drawer. Kristen Beyer and Mike Johnson are writing it. Mike has written a ton of Transformers stuff. Kristen's one of the key people in Star Trek, the Star Trek TV universe right now. We have not yet announced who the artist is, but I am able to tell you here is going to be Angel Hernandez. He's fantastic. If you go to the IDW office, we have these pages that Angel did for what was it? It was the some of the J.J. Abrams universe stuff, and they're literally the pages that we have in the IDW office that explain how a comic book is made. So we've got a script, and we've got the pencils, and we've got the art. So he's been doing a great job on Transformers lately, and it's exciting to have him back on Star Trek. And I can't show you anything about Picard because everything is super top secret. There's a thing I'm most excited about at this convention is getting to go see the Star Trek panel tomorrow at Madison Square Garden. So maybe we'll know more tomorrow.
We can reveal that he still has a face.
Maybe these are just concept drawings. These are just drawings of Picard. These are not drawings from the Picard series. So as I was saying, we do a lot of different kinds of stories. We do stories based on TV shows. One of those TV shows that we've been doing that is just coming back in an all-new series is Glow, with Glow versus the Babyface. Hannah Templer is returning as artist. She was amazing on the first series. You were amazing on the first series. And you're joined by new writers, Amy Garcia and AJ Mendez. Amy, you may know from TV's Lucifer. She's on that show. And AJ Mendez, some people might know her better as AJ Lee, WWE superstar. And one of the things that is amazing about the two of them, like they are so good at writing this stuff and so into comics. I don't know if I can say this, but we were Skyping with AJ one time, and the room that she Skypes from has Super Mario stickers all on the back wall there. And I'm like, oh, this is okay. This is awesome. But Hannah, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what this story is about.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this one. I'm sure you all know what Glow is, obviously.
Here's a mirror heart, sorry.
So this arc is about a kind of boisterous 10-year-old showing up at the gym and how she creates chaos for all the wrestlers and kind of how they all contend with that. It's super fun. The writers did an amazing job. And the aesthetic is similar to the first arc I did. So it's a lot of like Saturday morning cartoon inspired 80s artwork, which is super fun. All of the characters get kind of their own arcs and their own moments in the story, which is something I really like about working on this comic, and their personalities from the show also really come through, so it's really fun to do the art and kind of get their likenesses both through cartooning and also through their acting as well. So
yeah, the creators of the show are pretty involved, right?
Yeah,
They're
involved.
I mean, they're the ones that are
Fun.
reading all the scripts and
Yeah.
really giving us it's fantastic. And again, that is not the only series, or the only thing you're doing on it right now. Just out super recently, right?
it's coming out on the 22nd.
Oh, it's coming out on the 22nd? Oh, this is a lie. It's not on sale now. Cosmo Nights.
Well, it is on sale at the IDW
Yes, it is,
booth.
sorry.
You can get it here, which is great.
Thank you.
So those are advanced copies. Yeah, so this is something I'm super excited about. This is like my baby. I wrote and drew it and colored it, did everything for it. So Cosmoknights are mech-suited warriors who compete in cosmic jousting tournaments for princesses in space. That's kind of the premise. So the protagonist, Pan, is basically this girl from a really small town, edge of the galaxy planet, and she's best friends with a princess. And when the jousting tournament comes around, she helps her best friend run away and becomes persona non grata on this planet. So she's kind of stuck in this small town and yearning for a bigger life and a bigger universe when these two injured Cosmoknights show up on her doorstep. And she figures out, oh, these are two women Cosmoknights, and what they're doing is they're actually competing for princesses and then freeing them secretly and letting them go free. So she stows away on their spaceship, and the story kind of spins out into this really fun space opera. It's super queer. All the characters are gay in it, which is really fun. It's kind of a story where queer women get to be the heroes, and we don't die, which is really cool. So the story basically just spins out, and they realize, they're not the only ones in this universe who are kind of interested in changing things, and it's a really fun space opera that I'm excited about. So.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Hey, Bobby. Yes. Bobby, do you or does anyone still believe in hardest-forming Eve miracles? Because I've been a fan of My Little Pony. No joke, I've seen every episode 100 times. I have an 8-year-old, so it wasn't really an option to not do that. But actually, funny story. So my daughter kind of aged out of My Little Pony. She's like, oh, I'm not really watching it anymore. I'm like, well, I'm going to watch the end of the series. Like, I have to find out what happens to everybody at the end. So then she got back into the show. So we're both watching the last episodes as they come in, and we're both tremendously sad to find out that season 9 is going to be the last season of My Little Pony. Right, Bobby?
Yes, so the big announcement is that the comics are ending. We're not going to be doing any more My Little Pony comics. I'm kidding. Don't write that down. My Little Pony comics are going to be continuing, and not only are they going to be continuing, the comics are going to be the official season 10. So the story is not over. The comics are where you're going to go to see the world of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is going to continue. So all of your favorite characters are still going to be there, depending on what happens at the end of My Little Pony, the animated show. But we're tremendously excited. We're tremendously excited that Hasbro has put their trust in us to be able to be the official source of these stories moving forward. I can't tell you too much about what's going to happen because I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, both of the ponies that survive are in the new series, right?
I don't want
That's
to
a
spoil
joke.
anything.
That's a joke.
But we're just really excited about this. It's a great turning the page on My Little Pony into something brand new and really exciting. You're going to see some of your old favorite creators come back to the series, and you're going to see some brand new creators as well also on the series. We're going to have an overarching story arc like you'd see in the animated series, kind of punctuated with slice of life stories in between. So really everything you love about Pony isn't going anywhere, and we're just really tremendously excited about this new chapter in Pony.
Cool. Sonic the Hedgehog? Any Sonic fans out there? Yeah. We'll be hitting issue 25 in January, which is super exciting. This is covered by Tyson Hess, and we'll be entering the final phase of the Metal Virus saga. Everybody that's been following it, this has been it's been actually really exciting seeing Sonic continuing to pick up steam, and this is a weird thing. I don't know if this is inside baseball, but like. Sort of, this is true with Turtles too, actually. But every issue has been selling a little better than the previous one, and people are picking up. It's already selling pretty good, and it's been really exciting to see people coming in, people of all ages, longtime Sonic fans, new Sonic fans, and here's some fantastic art. If you haven't checked it out, let me recommend on October 26th, you can pick up a copy of Sonic #1 free at participating retailers for Halloween Comic Fest. And while you're there, I would recommend you pick up, also free, this Usagi Yojimbo one-shot that is going to be, Usagi's my favorite comic. And I was super excited to have that become a thing that comes in at IDW. Sorry, that was bad grammar. I lost that one. But we were doing the all-new Usagi stuff in full color. This one will be some classic Usagi stories. Actually, it's honestly one of my absolute favorite stories, Zilla. I don't know if you guys ever saw this one, but this is one of the early Usagi stories, and this is something that stuck with me when I was a kid. And I think when this came up, I asked Bobby, "Oh, can we do the Zilla story?" And Bill Crabtree colored this, but you can tell us a little bit about it, and then walk us into the other announcement coming next.
Yeah, well, first, this is going to be a great little sampler if you're not familiar with Usagi. It's a short story, kind of encapsulates what's great about the character, what's great about the world, where anything can happen. But it's also going to act as a little primer for, we've had the new series coming out, new issues. We're also going to be reprinting the classic Usagi under the banner of Color Classics. We're going to be doing all of the old stories recolored by Ninja Turtles colorist Rhonda Pattison.
Colored for the first time.
Yes, exactly. Colored for the first time, and so this is just the perfect time to pick up Usagi. John said Usagi's his favorite book. It's also my favorite book. It's just really you can see all the passion that Stan Sakai puts into it. He writes and draws it. You learn something every single issue about history, about feudal Japan. It's got a fantastic cast of characters. This is really a comic for anyone who loves comics. I don't know anyone who has read Usagi and hasn't become a fan. So I really encourage everyone to pick up this series, just for no other reason than I'm begging you. Not because it needs me begging, just because I love the series so much. And I think it should be shared with everyone.
And this is a transition that's planned. This is the way I plan a transition. Speaking of coloring things, yeah.
Really smooth, John. Really smooth.
Thank you. Oh,
there's always one.
Alan, what can we say about Beauty of Horror? This is an incredible book series. Literally, what can be said? What can physically be said here?
For anyone who doesn't know what Beauty of Horror is, think of the most beautiful adult coloring book and throw that out the window. This is just monsters and decomposing flesh and mixed in with werewolves and vampires, and there's an undead mascot who we have here in the back of the room, Guliana, who kind of walks colors through all these crazy scenes. Yesterday we announced Volume 4 in the series that's going to be coming out next year. The Halloween book is out now. We have it upstairs at the booth. And Deadline's going to post the book trailer later today, but you guys want to see it here today? This is the first. We have the director in the house, Josh Pacino, in the back. Thanks. The kids stayed up really late on a school night to get that done for you guys. But it's been this series has been a lot of fun. I spent the first bunch of years with IDW writing and drawing horror graphic novels, and the beauty of horror kind of happened by accident, and I like it even more than than doing the graphic novels, because there's so much interaction with coloring fans all around the world, and you know, you draw something in black and white and you see 100 different people put their spin on what it can be, and they add their own things in the background. It's just amazing. We're gonna announce the other thing. Yeah. So the series has been such a success that we wanted to put out something even more different than just the books, and so happy to announce that we're going to do a tarot card set. Nice. And I think Juliana is going to hand out some some items for you. But this has been a lot of fun. I've been drawing these nonstop the last bunch of months, and actually J Photos, the colorist, did an amazing job. So these will be available in full color and also colorable.
It's a Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, it's a Kickstarter. It starts October 22nd. I'm not sure when it goes through. It's a couple of weeks. Through Halloween. Yeah.
Your question.
Yeah, I'll let you take it.
Oh, all right. Sorry, I was just getting up in case you wanted to come back. Yeah. Very excited about that. That's going to be really awesome. And it sounds like there's the 72 full color images, right? That's what's it? 78. Oh, I thought 72 was good. That's amazing. Yeah, that's cool. And so we've got some. Are they samples? Is that what Juliana's handing out?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess everybody knows but me, because she's making her way through there. I'm on the far end of it. Yeah, and horror has been an essential part of IDW really from the beginning, and I think one of the people who's been most associated with horror at IDW, despite him being quite the opposite of a horrible human being, is Gabe here with Lock and Key, a little series that's...
I can't confirm or deny your last statement, but I'm really pleased to be again coming back to do a new visit to the world of Lock and Key with my fellow mates Joe Hill, J Photos, Chris Ryle, and everyone at IDW. Sometimes when you get into this creative field, you accidentally happen to flesh out something that grows and becomes alive way beyond anything that you had dreamed out of it. And for us, Lock and Key and its universe has been that. We wanted to tell a story, we wanted to present a certain cast of characters, and then over the time and as years have passed by, we have realized that these characters at these places had become as real for us and has been for our readers and supporters, that allowed us to develop it in ways we never expected to be able to. And now we feel that we have the chance and the space to keep exploring this mythology and these characters. When we were building the original Lock and Key series with Joe Hill, we did a lot of research, and we worked in a very heavily detailed backstory Bible, and we invested a lot in the details, tried to put a lot of history in the story of these characters. And now we found that we have a fertile ground to explore that history that we built before. So we're basically starting with Dog Days, which is going to be released in a couple of weeks from now. That's going to be, once again, an exploration of the story of Chamberlain Locke and his ancestors in the family, and to explore a bit more of the past of the story of the Lockes in what we have called the Golden Age, which is this arc that we've been developing short stories throughout the development of the original series, and we want to tell 3 more stories to close that arc. The first one's going to be Dog Days, that we're seeing the samples here, in which we explore how the Locke kids live their childhood related to the magic of the magic keys of Key House, and what kind of effect that has on them. And then after that, we're going to do a couple more stories. The next one's going to be set in World War I, and it's going to have a very huge impact in one of the characters of the Locke family. And then we're doing a story that's going to be a bit longer than the others of the Golden Age. That's probably going to be a couple issues. And even though I can't say that much of that one, because we want it to be a big surprise for the Locke and Key readers, I only can say that sometimes you realize how the stuff of dreams can lead you to hell. And that's probably what the legacy of the magic of Locke and Key sometimes has become for this family. And with that, we're going to close the Golden Age. And after closing it, we hope with Joe to be able to start a new run of a long story of Locke and Key. Right. We already have figured out the theme we want to explore and how we want to explore it. So that's why in San Diego Comic-Con we also introduced this little short story, Nailed It, that's planting seeds for that story to be developed. Because in this future arc, we're going to keep exploring both the past and the present of the Lockes, and to realize how in a family you inherit in your own story things from the past that affects your own life and become the seeds of what's going on in the future. And also to realize that it's not through magic that you solve the problems of humanity, because basically as humans we have to deal with ourselves, and that's the big lesson that we have to live throughout our experience with the family. So we're very excited about returning at this universe. We're really happy that we have a story that we think it's worth telling to keep exploring it. And we just hope that you will enjoy it as much as you have enjoyed all previous stories of Locke and Key. And I'm really happy that IDW is once again giving us the opportunity of telling the stories of this world and these characters.
It was a tough decision. We weren't sure if we were going to let you guys come back, but Nailed It is available at the IDW booth, right?
Yes.
So we'll have that there. And Joe couldn't be here for this panel, but he is here at the show.
Yeah, he's going to be here tomorrow and on Sunday doing signings in the IDW with me.
And also, I do want to say the last arc of the Golden Age is one of the most surprising and both surprising and natural things about Locke and Key. And I hate to be just tease something. I don't know if everybody knows how big a tease there is here, because there's something really exciting that's happening, and it's really going to. It's a really important story to Locke and Key, and it's everything. So I'm super excited about seeing that come together. I mean, obviously I'm excited about Locke and Key, but somehow you found a way to make me more excited about it. Okay, everybody has their Wellington ash cans, right? And it's only Wellington, right? So you're like, oh, this is just a Wellington ash can. That's all I have. That's it. Well, hey, and that's enough, right? Is there more? Well, look, if you watch the magic, you flip it over, boom, Dying is Easy is on the other side. It's a magic trick, all right? It's Joe Hill's new comic from IDW with Martin Simmons, who's the artist on Punk's Not Dead. And it's about a ex-cop turned stand-up comedian named S.T. Holmes. We won't say what the S.T. stands for, but maybe you can figure that out. He, well, yeah, as they say, comedy is easy. Dying is easy, comedy is hard. When there's a joke thief with a price on his head, and S.T. Holmes is perhaps willing to take that price. We'll have to see what happens. And very excited about that. Again, a cool preview in that book, and stop by the IDW booth later on in this convention and get to see hopefully everybody up here, but you can see Joe, like Gabe said, tomorrow. And that is really the whole thing. Whoa, that's really the whole thing. Look at that. So if we have some, okay. So it didn't do anything. Oh, yeah. All right, it did. Sorry. All right, does anybody have any questions? All right, you, sir, in the white shirt. No. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, of course. Yeah, no. No, we all went down to a meeting at the secret headquarters. That's the name of the production office. And everybody there is like super serious about Picard because this is such an important thing. And you know, I mean, I don't know. Like, I almost cried when I heard that, like, Patrick Stewart was coming back and playing Picard. Like, you know, this is a thing that means a lot to a lot of people. And absolutely, the Countdown series is going to introduce some characters that are integral to the Picard show. This will be the first place we see it. We'll see some. We might get to see some pieces of things that are. Gosh, I'm trying to word things in a way that I'm not giving anything away while still answering your question. There's some stuff we're going to see that like isn't in the show, but is absolutely a part of the universe that the show takes place in. Maybe where people or things are in that world. Some of that gets a little complicated, and again, without being able to reveal some of the stuff that happens in the run-up to Picard, and then where the show actually takes place, and separately where the Countdown series takes place. I mean, right now we're very much focused on this Countdown series and the Picard Countdown series. But the comics were like when I watched. I wasn't even at IDW when the Countdown series came out, and I remember watching the DVD and Kurtzman and Orsi referenced the IDW comics in the audio commentary when you watch it, and they're like, if you want to find out where the ship came from. So Kurtzman is running the whole of the Star Trek TV empire right now, and like I said, he's very involved in this stuff, and we got a chance to sit down and talk to him and talk about where all this stuff was going. And he's a big, I think he's a big fan of this of the comics. So and we're certainly a big fan of his. So sort of is the best answer I can give, but definitely this. I mean, an official sort of. But no, but I mean the current comics we're doing are absolutely. Part of the story that's going on, and it's so yeah. I'm sorry I have to be so secretive about things, and I also so I don't know. Anybody have any other questions I can't answer? Yes. Absolutely. We actually have we were not ready to talk about it yet, but there will absolutely be another Sonic Limited series coming up very soon with hopefully I think some exciting pieces of what it's going to be. We'll be announcing that soonish, but I can't definitively say yes. All right. Thank you, sir. That's a great question. I don't know. You guys how did we find you?
I mean, just years of knocking on your door, right?
Okay.
No, I mean, there's the submission process. I think Bobby, we reached out to you at first. So we've been in the comics community, just establishing networking and meeting people. And I had a friend, Ben Bishop, who is a fantastic artist, and he did the cover. One of the Jenica covers for that issue for TMNT, right? Second printing. And I was talking to him about Canto, and he said, oh, well, let me introduce you to Bobby. And he hooked us up, and I sent it over to Bobby, and I thought, oh, fantastic. I have an in with IDW. This is going to be super easy. And Bobby's like, oh, this looks interesting. Let me send it to the committee. And I was like, oh, record scratch. It's got to go through a committee. But it did. There's a selection committee. I think it's 12 people, right?
It's like 112, I think.
112, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's funny if you work at IDW. About 12 people, something like that.
So I went into the committee, and then we get an email a while later saying that they were interested in it. And Drew and I got together, so we had art and we had script. We had a first issue that was completely inked. And so that's sort of how we did it. And I think that's how a lot of some of the creator ones you reach out to, but others.
Yeah. All right. Have you created a top 10 TV show? Because if you do that, it makes things easier to break into comics. But no, it's tough, and it's just one of those things that I don't think any two people ever really, break in the same way. And I put that in quotes because the best advice that I kind of ever heard, and I think Scott, I think he'd given this advice in public or like in interviews and stuff too. But Scott McCloud said to me one time that if you want to break into comics, draw a comic on a piece of paper, fold it in half, and staple it. There, he broke into comics. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but there isn't like some barrier that you burst that you all of a sudden are now in comics, because if you even when you get a story published somewhere, it's still the next trick is getting the next one or finding a way to get your next project out there. The thing I would always recommend for a writer is to try to find an artist to work with, or if you are an artist, or if you have some sort of way of creating art in some way that isn't a traditional method. And get your story at least started, and like that'll separate you from a pack of people who don't do that. In terms of submitting stuff, one of the things I'd recommend, even if you can hire an artist to do like 5 pages of something, that's 5 pages more than you would have if you didn't do that. And I know that was a thing. That was a thing I think that Robert Kirkman did a lot way back when, before he was Robert Kirkman. Was he would hire people to do a few pages of something and then pitch these different stories and hope one of them would take. He was certainly doing that at like a bigger level, where he was doing different types of stories to try to get stories in different people's hands. If there is another medium that you work in, I mean, that's great too. If if you have a way of telling stories in podcasts, in TV or in video, I mean, like that stuff sounds. I mean, when I was a kid, that would have sounded ridiculous, but it is possible to film your own movie now. I know that was how Greg Pak broke into comics. Was he'd shot a film that got some attention, and so I don't know. There's no one answer to it, but that's the best thing you can do is to somehow get a name for yourself. Even putting your comics up online, putting your stories out there, so people come to you and they want you, and you're not the one that is just knocking at the door trying to get in. Like, in my opinion, that's the best thing. And then also be lucky, and that works on a lot of different levels. But it sucks. But there are things you can't change, but the things you can affect are trying to be as good at what you're doing as you can be. Because if a lucky opportunity does hit your way, take that opportunity and do your best at it, and that's all you can do, I think, on that kind of thing. I don't
There's just one thing I would add. I think you're absolutely right. You have to have the product. You have to do the work. You have to be lucky. So going back to your guys' story, Ben Bishop, the artist, you happen to know. So that's a bit of luck. You guys happen to know someone that already knows some of the company. Ben Bishop, I know Ben Bishop because he just gave some art to Kevin Eastman, one of the co-creators of Ninja Turtles. How did he do that? At a convention like you're at right now. This is a fantastic time we're here to talk to you guys. So come by the booth, talk to us just for a minute. That's really important, is that you're here if you're a creator, meet other creators. John and I have been freelancers. We've been through this process. We understand what the rejection feels like. It is disheartening, but all you can do is make the work, get lucky, and also put yourself into positions to get lucky. Really put yourself out there. Don't be afraid of talking to other creators, be they editors or artists or letterers or colorists, anyone. Everyone is a source of great information, so you're at the exact right place to start this journey.
Yeah, and that's another, networking doesn't necessarily mean like schmoozing. I mean, it can just be like finding somebody else that's trying to do the same thing you're doing, and the two, if there's more, it helps, I think, morally or mentally, it helps keep you not feel like you're losing it because you're alone doing this, because there's somebody else going through some of the same stuff that you are. But two is that thing of if somebody does get a lucky break, then maybe that person can help you too. And that a lot of times you'll see people kind of stick around in things, in comics or whatever medium you're trying to work in. And some people will get a foot in the door, and that can open it for other people. I don't know. Anybody else have any good advice or bad advice? No.
Just
All right.
Be a fan. Be a fan first, and a creator second. If you come out hard as a creator, asking friends for help, that's really a turnoff. But if you're a fan, if you've been a fan of somebody for years, I mean, every single person who did a cover for us, we are fans of their work. So when we approach them to ask for a cover, they're happy to do it because we love their work prior to asking for anything. So that's another way, I guess, sort of, instead of networking, just be a fan.
Yeah, and be able to show what you can do in a way. To have some work done helps, and to be able to show what you can do as a storyteller or as a creator is the thing that people need to see in order to realize if they can trust you with a project or invite you to participate in one. But the thing that I would add is be persistent and have faith, because before I started working in comics, I come from a country in which there was no publishing comics industry established. I grew up reading comics, thinking that I would never be able to work in that. In my own country, I tried to pull together 3 projects that sank throughout 4 years, and then I got a moment of luck in which I got an email contact that drove me to a online contest to get a job drawing the CSI comics for a foreign publisher through a contact from a guy in another country, in which in the entire process I thought the entire thing was a prank from someone. And then after crossing emails and sending samples for a period of over 4 months, I got my first script back, and then I got to start working. But that was after a period in which I failed for 5 or 6 years trying to make things work. So I say be persistent and have patience for yourself. Don't be anxious, and trust in your work. Make things happen, and things will keep happening around you. And I think that's a pretty solid advice.
Hannah, actually, I don't know your story, because you're the Top Shelf is the book that's part of IDW, but it's also separate. What was your story?
Yeah, actually, so there's 2. Well, with Glow, what happened is I had worked on a gem short the year before, and so the 80s connection happened, and it kind of brought me back in for Glow, which was awesome. And my advice from that would be good to your editors. And then with Cosmo Nights, I had actually started publishing as a webcomic, so kind of my feeling with that was, I'm going to make this, and if someone wants it, that's great, but I'm making this either way, and that's actually worked out really well for me because it's a really passion-driven project that way, and that's kind of how it got discovered. So.
Yeah, well, I got started in webcomics too. That was my background. All right, anybody else? Any other questions? I think we might be pretty close to out of time. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you at the IDW booth.
Come to the IDW booth.
Whoa!
Talk to
why wasn't that guy up?
talk to how he got his big break.